What is up, guys? This is Nick from NACL Gaming, or Salty Gaming, either way you want to say it is just fine, talking about something near and dear to my heart: Rainbow Six Siege operators. First up, we're going to go through the attackers and defenders, kind of say what they do and say which one's better than the others. This is pure opinion, of course. You can use whatever you want, whatever you're good with. You should definitely use. If you're new to the game or you don't know where to go next, here's just a couple tips or, just places to go if you don't know what operator to use. First up, we have Thermite. Thermite, in my opinion, is the most important operator. He can punch through any wall except if it fits an unbreakable surface, but other than that, he can go through anything. He can go through reinforcements, he can go through regular walls, really, and castles, barricades. Really, he's so versatile. His guns aren't the best, but they're not the worst at all. He's kind of in the middle column with guns. But another thing I like to use, and I see a lot with people, is they put a thermite on a wall and then they put a regular breach charge on another wall that's breakable, and the other team doesn't know what to look at because he's punching two walls at the same time. It's a great distraction. Unless they have on-point communication, they're not going to know what to look at. Next up, we have Ash. This is in no particular order, by the way, except for Thermite. Thermite's, I think, one of the most important, but Ash is a really good operator. I'm not going to go much into her. I don't use her too much, so I'm not very good, but I know my friends use them, and I see a lot of people using her correctly. Like, if you don't know what she does, she has a grenade launcher that goes into the wall and blows it up. It has a delayed reaction. I don't know the particular time, but it's a really good operator, especially for distractions, or if you see a opening at the top, you can shoot it and you can even bring people down. I've seen it happen. I've never been able to do it, but I think that's pretty cool in my eyes. Next up, we have Thatcher. Thatcher, in my eyes, is another one of the more important operators. He doesn't seem that great once you first look at him, but then again, look what he does. He has an EMP grenade, 3 of them, that you can throw into a room and take out pretty much all the electronics or around a certain area. And that's a pretty amazing feature that a lot of people kind of look over, like, oh, it doesn't blow up, or it doesn't do much for me, so I'm just gonna not pick it. But Thatcher is a pretty important piece to your team. Say there's a Jaeger and you have a fuse on your team, you're gonna have to take out those trophy systems, so you throw that Thatcher grenade in there, those trophy systems are done, they're gone. Especially if you have a Capkin on the other team, you can take out all the Capkins, because I know how many times I've just ran through a Capkin. I don't really know if it can take through Frost's new bear trap. I don't think so, but if it could, even better. If you want to tell me in the comments below if it does take out Frost's bear traps, please tell me. I'm just saying, Thatcher's one of the more important operators, and next time you see your team doesn't have one and you don't know what to pick, try to pick up Thatcher and try him out for once. Next up, we have Sledge. Sledge, I don't know how to feel about Sledge. Sledgehammer is awesome. I see a lot of people using them, but I don't see much use on a team. Like, your whole team can have breaching charges. You have your Thermite. What does Sledge do that the other ones don't? Your whole team has breaching charges. Why waste one of your gadgets on a hittable breaching charge that puts you at more of a disadvantage, because you have to be standing there and swinging? Even though you do have to put the breaching charges on the walls, I think it's still more risky using the Sledge, but that's just my 2 cents on things. He's not the worst, he's not the best. If you want to try him out, he's perfectly fine. His guns are but if you want to try him out, go ahead. And yeah, Sledge is one of the more low tier on my point of view. Next up, we have Blitz. Blitz is a riot shield guy, and he has a light on his riot shield that's kind of like a flashbang, but it's not a flashbang because it's not good as a flashbang. It flashes someone for 3 seconds and then it's done. I just got done with a game where he was trying to flash me, and he didn't even it didn't even last a second. So I don't know if he's very good, but I know he's the better ones out of all the riot shield guys, except for Fuse, but we'll get to that later. But not many people use the riot shield on Fuse, So if you're gonna go for a riot shield and you don't want to use fuse, I'd go for blitz. His gadget isn't the best, but it certainly isn't the worst, and I don't know much about his guns because I don't use him very much, but if you want to try him out, go ahead. Next up we have IQ. Oh gosh, why did they add this into the game? IQ, on paper, it looks alright. You can see through walls, you can see all the gadgets on the walls and all like the bomb and where the bomb is. You can't see people, but you can see all them. But what does that information do for your team if you don't know what it is? Maybe you can tell them that you see a place where a lot of attachments are and that's where the bomb would be, but that's really your only use, and after that you're useless except for like shooting. So you know, her gun's good, that's like one thing going for her, but other than that there's not much use for IQ. I see a lot of people using IQ, I don't really know why, so I'd say stay away from IQ a little bit, spend your money elsewhere. But if you want to try out, it's fine, you're not going to lose your team a game or anything. So I'm just saying IQ is one of the lower tier on my point of view. Next up we have Glaz. This is another one I don't know how I feel about. Glaz, in some people's hands, they can go 5-0 one game like in the first like 10 seconds with Glaz and just win the game automatically. I've been in that game before on the airplane map, the name's slipping my mind, but he can just take out that whole team and really the other team doesn't have much to do about that. But on the other hand, on other maps and like when we don't have a skilled player using Glaz, he kind of sucks. Like he just has a sniper rifle, like kind of not a team gadget. He has a little flip up sight. It doesn't do really anything for your team. You can't really spot except with your drone or anything. So I mean, Glaz can be good in some situations, but in others can be iffy. I mean, some people are really godlike with Glaz, and you know, if you're one of those people, more power to you, but I don't see a use for him yet in my particular operator session. Next up we have Fuse. Now Fuse is one of the more popular operators. Is he the best? No, he's not the best, but his attachment is pretty devastating. You put like a thingy on a wall and it shoots like 5 hockey pucks that explode. They're really grenades, but they look like hockey pucks. It's funny. But anyways, he has a machine gun that he can use. He has a riot shield he can use. He's one of the more versatile. He has a lot of armor. But please don't use him on hostage. You don't know how many times I've been in a hostage game and he just ruins the whole game for anyone. You put that fuse thing on the wall anywhere near the hostage, it's going to kill a hostage. You can literally sneeze onto a hostage and it dies. So please don't use fuse during hostage. But other than that, he's a pretty good operator. And if you're new to this game and you don't see anyone using fuse, I'd use fuse. You can get a lot of kills out of it. Alright, well, you know, I've been kind of saving this one for next to last because I don't know how to say the name, like Montague or Montagne or something. If you know how to say the name, please comment down below and show us how to say the name. But anyway, I've been actually looking on Google and trying to find how to say the name, but he's not really worth all this time discussing him. He's alright. He's a riot shield guy. His riot shield's a little bigger than everyone else's and he can like stand up and it covers his whole body. He can be really useful in getting your teams like down hallways and stuff, but other than that, he's not very useful. I mean, if you're a riot shield type person, you might want to try him out. He's pretty decent. He's no blitz, he's no fuse, but he is his own person and he kind of covers more of his body and your team's body. So you know what? He's not bad. He's not that great. One of the lower tiers on my point of view though. Next up we have Twitch. And now Twitch at first seems like a terrible operator. All she has is a shock drone that shoots little like tasers at the person doing 10 damage, and that's really it. And that's true, and she can spot, but that's true, that's all she does. But really where she shines is her gun. The FAMAS, I don't know what her other gun is. I know it's pretty good, but it's not as good as the FAMAS. FAMAS is godlike in Rainbow Six Siege. Like, if you're not using the FAMAS and you're using Twitch, what's wrong with you? Pick up the FAMAS. Maybe it's not for you, but it really just destroys people. I'd say use the FAMAS and Twitch is a pretty good combination in this game. And here's a little tip in using Twitch. If you're a point whore like me, you should just go into the bomb room, hit everyone on the team once, and you get a 75-point assist for just hitting them with a drone, not even going into the room yet every time someone dies. Next up, we're gonna go on the defenders. This isn't gonna be in any particular order, but at the end, I'm gonna tell you like what is the best combination in my eyes in defending is. Really, I've never really lost a game with this combination of people. So if you have 5 friends or something, this would be a great combination to kind of just bring up to them or whatever. But let's get into it. The first up, we have Castle. Castle is a pretty important part of your team. He can be useful, he can't be. Depends what kind of room you're in. If you're in a room with a lot of windows and a lot of doors, he's not as useful. It's just spotting out where your place is. But if they don't have a lot of windows, it doesn't have a lot of doors, he can put 3 little barricades that go on windows and doors that are bulletproof. They need explosive, or glass can shoot through them, but he's the only one. But they need explosive to blow it up, or sledges, hammer to blow it up. And really, that's pretty much all he does. His guns are alright, and you know what? He's a pretty good operator. He's on my team for the more important operators. But yeah. Next up, we have Pulse. Pulse, on paper, seems amazing. He has a little heartbeat sensor that can see through walls, and he can shoot through the walls and kill people or whatever, but he's really not that great. I've tried to use him, my friends try to use him, it just can't happen. Like, it doesn't work that great. Like, you can see someone through the wall for like a split second, then they run away and they're into like 2 walls behind, and you can't see that far. You can't see that far into a room, maybe almost into one room, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. So he's not the best, he's not the worst. If you want to try him out, he's really something you have to try out before you know if you like him or not. So yeah, that's pretty much all he does. Next up, we have Mute. Mute is kind of a wishy-washy character to me. I think he's pretty important if the right person is playing them. If the person hustles up at the beginning of the game and hides their mutes correctly, they can be really essential in like stopping the other team from finding a bomb. But what most people don't know about mute, you can put the mute box near a wall and they can't put a breach charge on it, so it jams the breach charge. Unless they break the mute, they can't put a breach charge on that wall, which is pretty important, and of course it stops drones. Next up is Smoke. Smoke, I thought was going to be really good at the beginning, but after using him a couple times, he's not the greatest. He's not bad, he's not good, he's kind of in the middle. Really, he throws like 3, I think he has 3 grenades that like spits out poisonous gas, damaging the enemy over time. It doesn't damage that much, and it does damage your team, which kinda is annoying when people don't know how to use him. He's just like killing everyone because he's putting the gas into the room. Of course, it doesn't affect himself, but it does affect your team and the other team. And his throw like reach isn't very far for some reason, so he's not that useful. But you know, if you want to try him out, go ahead. His gun's pretty alright, and his gadget's not too bad. Next up is Bandit. Bandit is, I don't know how to feel about him. He's alright. He can, if he's used correctly, you don't need a mute per se. Like Bandit, he can electrify reinforced walls or barbed wire, and when you put the barbed wire and his bandit thing inside of the doorway, it kills the drones, which is a pretty great thing to do. If you don't have a mute on your team, that's what you should be doing. You shouldn't be electrifying walls. Electrifying walls doesn't work too much. I mean, you might catch one unsuspecting person, but that's about it. That's pretty much all he does. He's alright. He has a big headshot area, but other than that, he's pretty good. Next up is Jaeger. Jaeger is one of the more important operators in the game, in my point of view. He has a trophy system that you put on the wall, and it stops grenades from coming in. And just so you guys know, he can stop fuses grenades, but he only stops like 3 of them, I think it is, or maybe 2. But if you put 2 of them on the wall, of course it will stop all of them. And that's a really good nerf to fuse. So if you know the other team has a Jaeger on their team, don't pick fuse, because usually it will stop all the hockey pucks from entering the room. So I say Jaeger is one of my more important characters. He's one of my favorites. So yeah, if your team doesn't have a Jaeger, try to gravitate over to him because he is one of the more important operators. Next up is Tachanka. Now, Tachanka, he seems great. He has a little like machine gun that does a little more damage than the gun he normally has, and you know, it's kind of fun to use. You just shoot people with this huge machine gun. It's kind of intimidating, but as soon as you use them, you realize you're totally exposed. You're standing straight up, and it does take a little animation to put the gun down. So if someone's like popping up and shooting at you, you don't have time to be like dismounting from the gun. So Tachanka isn't a very good operator. If you want to use him, go ahead, but after the first couple like games, you'll realize he's not really that useful. Next up is Capkin. And Capkin, I've been having a love-hate relationship with lately. I don't use him very much. I used to use him a lot before, but then people started catching on to like where the traps were being set, and like you can see a little piece of the trap come out the other side, and people check for that now. But there is a little glitch. I'm not going to tell you what it is here, but if you want to find it, you can look hard enough on YouTube. It won't be that hard. But he just puts a landmine onto a door, and if you cross it, or window of course, and if you cross it, it blows up. It can blow up your own team too. I've been killed a lot by my own team's Capkin, mainly because I just don't see it. But he's an alright operator. He's not one of the best, but he is. If you want to use him, go ahead. He's not going to affect your team any really negatively. You're going to get the other team raging pretty hard though. Next up we have Rook. Rook is one of my favorite characters in the game, mainly because he doesn't do much. I mean, I know it's bad to say, but I like to put up barricades and put up my reinforcements before the other team starts, but you just put down the plates onto the ground, and plates I'm meaning like body armor. It gives your team a little extra health. Oh man, I should look that up, but I don't know how much it gives you, but I think it's like another shot. Of course not the head. That would be pretty amazing, but he does put plates down, and your other team can pick it up. Easy 10 points, and that's pretty much all he does. He has a pretty good weapon, the MP5, not MP5K. Maybe the MP5K, I'm not sure. But yeah, he has the MP5 and he has those plates. That's really all he does, but he is a very essential part to your defensive team. Next up we have Doc. Doc is... he's not very useful, but some people can be really good with him. I've never really... I used him like once before, and then you realize you're not doing much for your team. You're just sitting there waiting for them to die. He has an alright weapons, you know, whatever, but his gadget is like... when someone's down, you get to shoot them and it brings them back up, which can be useful somewhat. I don't know if they work on bear traps anymore. Maybe I'm not sure. That's something that we'll have to test out. But Doc, he brings back 75% of your health instead of the 50, which is pretty nice, but other than that, there's not much use for using Doc. And you probably thought I already forgot about Frost and Buck, but I didn't forget about Frost and Buck. I'm going to say right here. Attackers, the new DLC, this is as of like February of 2016. So if there's any new operators out, forgive me. Probably look on my channel. I probably did an overview of them. For attackers, they brought in Buck. Buck is not the best character per se. He's not the worst though. His guns are alright. They have a lot of kicks, so if you have trouble controlling your weapons, I wouldn't use him very much. Both of his guns have pretty big kick. He has a DMR, I'm pretty sure, but of course it's not as good as Glaz's. But anyway, he has an under like sling shotgun. It's kind of like a grenade launcher that you'd put under your gun, but it's a shotgun. It's a regular shotgun. Really what's mainly used for, in my eyes, busting open holes in walls, like little death holes for the offensive team, which is pretty amazing. Sometimes you just shoot into a room and the offensive team doesn't even know you made a hole, and then you can just destroy all of them, which never happens, but you know, it can happen. So Buck's not the best, he's not the worst. If you want to try him out once. He is a pretty penny to buy unless you have the season pass, so he takes 20,000 renown to buy, and that takes a little bit to make in Rainbow Six, unless you have unless you played a lot. So yeah. Next up for the defenders, we have Frost. Frost is again the new operator they brought. Frost is the the shining key out of that whole DLC. It is pretty amazing. Her guns are pretty good. Her new shotgun's pretty devastating. And her gadget is annoying as hell. Like, oh my gosh. It's a bear trap that goes onto someone's leg, and you can't move when you're down, which I think is the most annoying part of the whole thing. You can't go to your teammates so they can revive you. You stay right there, and you just die. That's pretty much it. And you can't hold in your bleeding for some reason. So that's about it for Frost. Overall, good character. If you can get her fast enough, then go ahead and try her out. She does cost 20,000 renown, like Buck, but she's one. If you were deciding to buy Buck or Frost, I'd say buy Frost. Last but not least, I'm just gonna go over this really fast, but I have a good team for defenders. I've never really lost using this, so I think it's one of the better teams to use, but really any team works. I'm just saying this if you have a group of 5 friends and you want to have a better team. Castle, Mute, Jaeger, Rook, and really the last one is up to you guys. I use Frost because Frost is just super annoying for their team and makes them paranoid. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That took 4 takes just to say that. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Anyway, have a great day, guys, and stay tuned for more Rainbow Six Siege.